Hello and welcome back to our small piece of paradise here in the middle of Portugal, which was more alliteration than I planned for this intro. And today we're going to answer the question, should we just knock it down and start again? Well, the short answer is no, but this is a question that we get a lot in lots of different guises. People basically saying, wouldn't it be better? Wouldn't it be easier? Wouldn't it be cheaper to flatten this building and start again? Because we've had to do so much work to it over the last 18 months. Well, we're going to address all of those points today in this video. That is one of my favourite views of this building. These chickens are loud. So, should we knock it down and start again?
Oh God, no. So much to say on that particular thing. But let's talk about why we bought this property in the first place. I particularly really love old buildings.
No, it's definitely we.
Okay, we. But I particularly love taking broken, damaged, neglected properties and bringing them back to their former glory. And we did it before. So in London, the very first property I did was a Victorian terrace. And then the other ones were also old, neglected, needed a lot of love. And it's just something that I really love doing. And I can see through the ugly to the beautiful result at the end. And it was the same with this property. There are so many beautiful features and so much history and character that it, funnily enough, didn't fall in love with it at first sight, but definitely at second sight. And the other interesting thing about this particular property, which we didn't know when we bought it, was it was built in the late 1930s when the building technique at the time here was definitely using cement and more modern materials like bricks. But the builder chose, or the farmer chose, to build it in the old traditional farmhouse style with stones. And the stones from this house were actually transported by horse and cart from an area just north of Porto. So they intentionally built it using older techniques and methods, mostly I think to keep the cooler house. And it would be an absolute travesty to just knock it down with all that love and attention that went into building this. Yes, so it would just be a never in a million years is it something that
For us.
I would do. Yeah, exactly, for
Yeah.
us. And you wouldn't buy this house if you were going to knock it down, because you pay a lot of money for the house. The land comes with it. The land here is really affordable, so it wouldn't make sense to pay a lot of money for a house that you were then going to knock down.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with all of that, because it's the same for me. I really like the story, the history and the character in the building that we've got here. And it would be a real shame to lose all of that. Yes, we are having to undo some things in order to modernize it, in order to make the downstairs habitable, for example, to put in heating and insulation and modern electrics and plumbing and all that kind of stuff. But we are trying to do that in as sensitive a way as possible, in using natural materials, using traditional methods, and trying to retain as much of that character and history and story as we can. And so I think we should go inside and take a look at some of those features and discuss them in a bit more detail. I think it was this shot here when we first viewed the place, where we saw these windows, and I was like, yes, I like this. I don't like this. I don't like this so much.
Or the metal doors.
No, the metal doors, not so much. Talk us through some of the character features that we're going to keep.
We're keeping this, which
For better or worse.
which we've talked about before. And we do have some plans, which Guy's going to go through some 3D models at the end of this video to talk about what's going to go on here. And this will be part of the design of this room. But the things in here that we really like, number one is the height in here. Many of these stone cottages that we see have really low ground floor head height. Almost you either have to duck or it's just above your head. This floor isn't finished, it needs to go up by 100 mil, 10 centimeters. There's quite a bit of head height here. So we're going to retain all of that head height, which is why we dug down, which is a feature. These beams, which are the originals, are chestnut and are beautiful. So in this room,
with all their flaws, they are beautiful.
yes, and there are some flaws. There is a little bit of damage.
There's some water damage in some places.
Woodworm stuff, but it's been treated in the past. Anyway, we're going to expose those in here because they're beautiful.
Let's go and have a look at the door.
This door, so this is the door that separates the two adegas, the original door. It is also very damaged, but is completely salvageable. So we're going to strip this back, repair it, and then we're going to put it on a slider between the two rooms because it's beautiful.
So like a classic sliding barn door.
Yeah, exactly. There are some really, really beautiful lintels which we are going to expose as well.
Yeah.
So
that is maybe not the most beautiful specimen, but it's an example of a lintel.
when it's finished, when we've stripped it back and sanded it and made it pretty, it will look great. What's interesting about this lintel is this comes much lower on this side than this massive lintel that's on that side, which is interesting.
Let me get a quick shot of that. Whoa! Chunky piece of wood.
If you come this side, you'll see how thick that big one is. It's rather large. Similarly, the one above this door is also beautiful. And so, if I remember from our many discussions that we have, we're going to expose the stone on this wall.
Yeah.
And potentially on the other side. So on both sides of this wall, so in the kitchen and in the lounge, this will be pointed with lime, but the stones will be exposed. The rest will be all rendered or plastered to make it brighter in here. So there'll be a white, and that will help the light that does get in the room reflect off the walls and not make it so dark. But yeah, we want to feature some of the lovely stone that we have, and also around some of the doors there are these lovely massive stones that again will expose those but then plaster the rest. So here again, these huge stones to make them a feature. This will actually, we've got some trickery to do here, but we can expose all these lovely large ones, and probably that lintel as well because it's beautiful.
Talk to me about the little holes in the wall over here.
We have many of these. So this is an external wall. We also have a couple on this internal wall.
Let me come over here. I don't know if we can see them. Just about. You can see one there. There's one behind the fridge as well.
There's another one on the next internal wall. Again, they have these large stones acting as kind of lintels, surrounds. And we are not going to fill them in. We're going to make a feature out of them. We had an idea, so I think originally before the house was rendered, these were left exposed to the elements on the outside as well, because this would have been animal storage and wine storage. And some of them actually have old bits of hay still in them where I think they must have chucked in like a clump of hay to feed the animals. So I think originally it wasn't plastered on the outside, and that's been done subsequently. We did have an idea to break through and put like a glass brick so that we could get some light in. We're still discussing that one. But at a minimum, we will expose these big stones and make it a feature and be able to put something in there, whether it's a bowl of something or a candle or something. So that's just this kind of area's features. There's a lot more features on the first floor. That
all of our stuff is in the way, so we can't really show you.
Exactly, we'll get to that. But that's one of the reasons that for us it would make no sense to knock this down. It's got so much character, which we love. I know it's not for everyone. But it is why we bought the property, to take all of these features and bring them new life.
So that is one of our major reasons for not wanting to knock this beautiful building down, is because it's beautiful and it's got all this character and all these things that we want to preserve and enjoy for many, many years to come. But of course there's the other aspects to this question as well, which is, wouldn't it be easier, wouldn't it make it easy to start with a blank canvas rather than having to undo a whole load of stuff and dig out floors and dig out drainage trenches and all that kind of stuff? And then wouldn't it also be cheaper in the long run to just start from scratch? Well, let's go somewhere a little bit brighter and talk about that. There we go. It's a bit nicer in here.
Well, it's clearer of our mess at least.
Well, yes, it's not as messy.
So let's talk about the easier part. And I can only talk about it in the context of Portugal, where to demolish this building and build afresh would require, first of all, a demolition license, and then secondly, planning permission.
And everything that goes with that, including architects
exactly.
and engineers and other builders.
And it is well known by those who live in Portugal or are intending to come to Portugal that building a new building involves a hell of a lot of bureaucracy. So a demolition license, I know nothing about that, but I do know you have to get it to knock down anything, even if it's an illegal structure. And I don't know why that is, it's just how it is. And then planning here requires so much paperwork.
And time.
And an architect that draws up plan, like you would in many other countries. But the actual planning process often takes between 1 and 2 years before you get permission to build. There is no real concept here of self-build either. So if you get planning permission, you then have to find yourself a licensed builder, and they have to do it all. There's obviously building regs and all the checks that come with a new building. So easier for us, definitely not, because we have the skills, so we wouldn't even be able to do a new build if we wanted to. There are not many builders who you could find who you could build with to lower your labor costs, for example. So again, in Portugal, for us, I don't think that it would actually be any easier. Maybe less physical labor, for sure, because you wouldn't be digging up floors that already existed. We're not afraid of hard labor, so easier. Potentially, if you're that type of person, but not for us.
Maybe the word that would be more appropriate is simpler. Yes, it can be simpler to start with a blank canvas, because then you can choose what goes there, how it goes there, how it looks, what it's made from, and all that kind of stuff. But simple doesn't necessarily mean easy. It's something that we say all the time. And sometimes easy is not simple. The last piece of the puzzle here is cost. And I guess it's related to all of those other things that we've already been talking about. And for us, one of the big reasons that it is not cheaper to knock this down and start again is because, as Kylie was just saying, we would need to get architects, planning, engineers, and builders to help us do a new build. It wouldn't be something that we could jump in and save on all the labour costs by doing it all ourselves. Maybe there's ways around it, but it's a bit of a grey area and not straightforward at all, although probably not impossible. So for us, definitely not cheaper either. And of course, it's expensive to demolish something and take away all that rubbish. However, I would say the cheapest thing to do would be buy a piece of land that doesn't have an existing house on it, because then you're not paying for the house and all the things that that house has. Land is abundant and very affordable here. You could buy a half a hectare for 10,000 euros. You could probably buy a small plot for much, much less than that. And then you could, if you wanted to have a new build, a modern building, modern architecture, all the mod cons and what have you, you could use that blank canvas to build something new there without having to demolish anything. But you'd still have to go down the kind of the new build planning architect builders type approach.
So we are in an area that is deemed agricultural, and the land here is registered as rustic. But the land is available for purchase and you can build on it up to 200 square meters.
In some areas.
In our immediate area.
Yes.
So recently there was some land for sale near us that we were considering buying. I checked with our lawyer. I said, this land is priced at this. Is there the potential to build on it? She checked like the land.
It's called the PDM.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
The Permitted Development Zone or something?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Anyway, so it's in an agricultural area. The land is deemed as rustic, but for agricultural use, and that comes with an allowance of building up to 200 square meters. And this land nearby was very affordable. So it is 100% the cheapest way to go if you want to build from scratch. But for us, we would not be interested in that. Maybe we'll do one in the future.
Okay, good.
Well, there's something new to learn there, right?
Sure.
We'll see.
We'll see.
I mean, we have our outbuildings to do, and we might demolish and build that with planning permission, so we'll see.
Okay, good. Can we finish this one before you start cooking up ideas for the next project?
Yes. So we've answered the question. For us, it is totally not easier, cheaper, better, simpler, all the things. But we like to always add a little bit of extra to these videos. So we're going to walk you through, specifically, Guy is going to walk you through some 3D models that we have for the kitchen. And these are very much subject to change because we're still ironing out some of the details. Yeah. But we thought we'd share what we're up to.
Cool. Let's jump into the computer and take a look.
Okay, so welcome to SketchUp and to our current design and thinking for our kitchen layout. This is, of course, very much subject to change, but should be able to give a slightly better idea of some of the things that we're planning and where things are going to go and how the space will feel once it's actually got some stuff in it that isn't just building supplies. So as we come in through the main door, just like we did in the video, probably the first thing that you notice is the big post, which runs floor to ceiling. And we're going to try and incorporate this into the design of this breakfast bar area here. The post is made out of eucalyptus and is quite a dark brown, so we want to go for a similar kind of dark wood, and the beams above and the lintels are all made of chestnut, so we're thinking about going for a solid chestnut worktop here, just for this breakfast bar or island type thing, to make that a nice feature and to kind of tie it in with the post. It almost feels like the post is like one of the legs of the breakfast bar. We've still got a bit of detailing to work out here in terms of how exactly it sits within it and how far across this thing actually comes here. If we zoom out a little bit and go from a slightly higher angle, we'll get a bit of a general idea of how the room lays out. Beyond the post here, or to this kind of bottom left-hand corner, this is going to be a dining area, and we're thinking about building in a like a bench seat that goes around the corner in like an L shape here, and then having a movable table. So we'll have plenty of seating and space to enjoy the cooking experience and the dining experience. We haven't drawn that in because we have no idea how that's going to look or how it's going to work, but that is the kind of area that is going to be here, a dining area. We have the nice breakfast bar in the middle, which is a really handy space for sitting and eating breakfast, but also for prepping food. So that will be very handy indeed. We've learnt from past experience that we need lots of work surface in addition to lots of storage. So there is hopefully enough of both of those in this design. We will of course have other kitchens as well. We're going to have an outdoor kitchen and a prep kitchen for doing all the kind of processing and wine making and maybe beer making and canning and preserving and all that kind of stuff. So this is mostly for like domestic use, although it's going to be a long time before we've got those other kitchens as well. But in terms of how the like the units are worked out, along the back wall here we've got a set of fairly narrow or shallow units. I think this is about 400 millimeters. Yeah, 400 mil, and that is to maximize the amount of space here before we hit the pole. And so we're going to recess a sink unit into this area here, which is currently a doorway, and there will be a window built in up here, which I haven't drawn in at this stage. Over to the left here, we're going to have a set of tool units. These will be mostly for the fridge and the freezer. That will be these two large ones in the middle. And then either side of that, we've got these other kind of skinny but tall cabinets. These will be like a larder cabinet, maybe with a pull-out basket system for storing things like herbs and spices and oils and vinegars and other condiments and stuff like that. And then again, to maximize storage space, we'll build in some above unit storage here for some of those things that we don't use so often. Spinning around to the other side, to the left of the stove here, this will be space for a dishwasher. This actually doesn't look like it is big enough for a dishwasher, so we will have to make a small modification here. Yeah, this is only like 500. We need at least 60 centimeters for a dishwasher there, but that's fine. We'll be able to just make a small change there. We've got a large stovetop or range or oven combination. Again, I haven't drawn in all the details, but that's kind of where the cooking is going to take place. We are planning an induction hob because we have solar power and we'll be able to run it all off electricity, which is all very good. And then off to the right-hand side here, next to the cooking area, we have more bench space and some cupboards underneath. So it's nothing too exciting in terms of what's going on, and of course it's very kind of blocky and boxy and very vague at the moment, but hopefully it gives you a bit of an idea of some of the things that we've got planned and how we're going to use this space. And we are planning to build the kitchen from scratch by hand, which is something that we've never done before and something that we are quite excited about, and I'm sure it will make a good video or a good series of how we actually realise this dream. But I think that's a good place to end it for now. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next one. Bye for now.